Another great Reddit story. I think my husband fathered his best friend's children, and now one of them is attracted to my daughter. I'm a 42-year-old woman. My husband Luke is 43, and so is Amy. I met Luke in college, but he's known Amy since they were about 7. They did everything together and understood each other implicitly. They were best friends. They've always insisted that they're surrogate siblings to each other. Naturally, I, as the new girlfriend, felt a little threatened by Amy and her closeness to Luke, but they both reassured me I had nothing to worry about, that their bond was not romantic and had never been sexual, that Amy was really the sister that Luke never had. I believed them, and it didn't take long for me to forget any and all insecurity I had about Amy. She became my friend too. She even officiated at our wedding. Luke and I have built a wonderful life together, and we've always had a strong relationship. After we got married and moved in together, we still saw a lot of Amy, and I was fine with that. I've passed many a night on the town trying to help Amy find a man. As she has always lamented how she is unlucky in love. Luke and I started to have children after we were married, and all around the same point, so did Amy. For further context, my children are Sophie, 15, Owen, 12, Louise, 10, and Carter, 6. Amy's children are Tom, 17, Kaylee, 14, and twins Adam and Jenna, 9. Now, Amy was not in a relationship at this point. She was not married, and as far as I knew, she was dating but not consistently. As Luke and I had more kids and our family grew, periodically Amy would find herself pregnant as well. It happened a few times, and Luke and I never knew anything about the father in question. I kind of assumed that maybe Amy was sleeping around and not keeping in contact with her one-night stands. Luke agreed this was probably the answer. While I did ask each time if Amy knew the paternity, she always said no, and she didn't seem that worried about the idea of raising kids on her own. So I didn't pester her. Of course, she had us to support her, so there was that. Amy never asked for any help, of course, and Luke was never going to let his best friend struggle to stay afloat when she had children to raise. Financially, we're very fortunate and privileged. I have a job that pays handsomely, and Luke has had wealthy parents who already knew and loved Amy. They were always happy to provide for her. So we were able to support Amy. Of course, Amy being Luke's best friend since they were kids, it's not unreasonable that sometimes they hung out together while I wasn't there. Hey, that's fine. Sometimes I hang out with Amy one-on-one as well, though Luke seems to do it more. This included him going over to where she was staying and at times sleeping over there. Was I a fool to trust him and believe nothing was going on? Perhaps. But for years they presented as being buddies, like siblings. I didn't pick up on any vibes between them, not ever. As one can expect, our children were brought up together, not in the same house. Our home is decently sized, but we don't have the room for 8 kids. But we made sure Amy's children met ours from a young age, and they always got along, and strong bonds of friendship have been formed over the years, which is good, especially if I'm right and they share blood. I've been dawdling getting to the main point. Yes, I've come to suspect that Luke fathered at least one of Amy's kids, if not all of them. Frankly, I do suspect they're all his. And he's given me no indication that he's the unfaithful sort, but he does spend a lot of time with Amy, and I have to confess I cannot remember seeing her with any real boyfriend over the years. She would talk to men at bars and parties. I would try to be her wingman and so on, but nothing ever seemed to really happen. So when she got pregnant the first time, I was curious. When it happened again and again, I began to wonder if she had some sort of secret fella that she didn't want us to know about for whatever reason. But I couldn't think of any reason why she'd want to hide him, especially from her children. After Carter, our youngest, was born, Luke and I agreed that it was time had come for him to have a vasectomy. Amy's twins had come just a couple of years prior. Of course, after the procedure, Luke and I continued to make love, but I no longer had to think about pregnancy. Meanwhile, Amy never got pregnant again after the twins. Is it a coincidence that Luke had a vasectomy and then both of us stopped getting pregnant? I don't know. But Luke would still visit her, and he wasn't just going to see her, but checking up on her children as well. In general, I would have paid more attention to it sooner, but Lucas always acted like a father to them, especially when they got older. He's a father they never had. He doesn't neglect me or our children, not one bit. He is doing double duty. On its own, the idea that he is a surrogate father for Amy's fatherless children isn't inherently suspicious. One could call it noble. It combines with a lot of other little things. There is appearance as well. I won't go into specifics, because I'd rather limit the identifying factors of the people involved and keep this whole thing vague as possible. But suffice it to say, Amy's children, they certainly look like they could be Luke's. Kaylee has a very unusual allergy that Luke has. The twins look very much like him, Adam in particular. The older Tom has gotten, the more of Luke I can see in his face and personality. While their race doesn't matter, the reality is Luke is of a different race than Amy. And Amy's children look pretty biracial. I could easily believe their father is the same race as Luke. Doesn't mean Luke has to be the father, but it sure seems like it. I've never voiced my anxieties to either Amy or Luke. I don't want to be the bad guy, guilty or innocent. I already know they would flatly deny my accusations and be hurt by them. Imagine if the drama reached the ears of the kids or Amy's kids. Either way, Luke continues to spend time with Amy and her children, just as her children spend time with mine. I've hinted to Luke that I feel needy for more attention and wish he wouldn't give as much to Amy, but either missed my cues or pretended that he missed them. I don't want to push the idea that he's favoring her, because it's not even really true. He's never neglected me for her. I just can't shake the feeling that Luke and Amy have been intimate before, likely numerous times. I've been letting this go and turning a blind eye for years. It was a dark thought in the back of my mind after Kaylee's allergy was discovered, but I dismissed it. Got worse after the twins were born. I dismissed it. Then when Amy stopped having babies, I wanted to feel reassured by that, but Luke had gotten a vasectomy, so if anything, it made my anxiety worse. There have been nights where I wished the twins were younger, that they had come along after Luke's procedure. It's been twisting me into knots for a long time, but I don't want to be the one that rips our family apart. Except now I'm very afraid, because in the last few months we've had a new development in our kids' social circle. Tom, Amy's eldest, asks Sophie out. Sophie is my eldest. She's really blossomed over the last few years and has become quite the outspoken beauty. So I'm not shocked that she's getting male attention. She approached me to talk about it. Bless my girl, she did everything right. I think she expected I would see things her way and agree that she could date Tom. Much to her surprise, I firmly said no. She just couldn't understand why she wasn't allowed to.